Hello everyone, and welcome to the first video of a series that I'm going to do about project planning. And in this video I'm going to focus on identifying and understanding the purpose of your project. And hopefully this will be pretty quick, but we'll see. So the project goal from a high level really is just what do you want this to do at the end, or what does your customer want this to do at the end, or your business, or whatever, right? What are you hoping to get out of it? What are your needs? And this all will apply fairly well to personal or professional projects. But the idea of the project goal really is just what does it need to do? And or why are you doing it, I guess, is another alternative way to look at it. So this can be kind of tricky. Sometimes it requires a lot of communication with other people. Sometimes they think they want something they actually don't want, and that can all get really complex to deal with. But something that can help you a little bit is trying to understand the concept of a minimum viable product. Whether it's your customer or your business or just you, what is the minimum thing, the easiest thing, the cheapest thing that serves that purpose? Now, it may not be what you go for at the end, right? The cheapest thing may not actually be sensible to do, but it may be a good way to start thinking about finalizing what the real goal is and understanding in more detail what your customers need, because they may not fully understand the end product, but oftentimes you can get them to figure out, whether it's with you or on their own, what the minimum useful thing would be. So the next thing is confirming that it's a real problem you're trying to solve, or if it's a personal project, will it be fun to do, right? That can be a really interesting one, and we see this, honestly, we see this a lot particularly in, at least in my opinion, in software. We see problems that aren't problems trying to get solved, or cars may be another example, right? There's tons of technology that gets added to cars that is more marketing than actually solving a real problem. Even like, well, some cars say, they will say that or advertise that they use X amount of plastic panels or an aluminum chassis or something, and for some vehicles that's beneficial for weight, like for a sports car that's meant to be driven sometimes on a track. But for like a regular sedan, it really doesn't matter. So when they do that, they're not really solving a problem, they're just doing something to market it. And in a situation like that, it could be fun, like if you're just doing it, right? If you've got an old car that you just feel like working on, maybe taking the steel chassis out from underneath it and putting an aluminum one in might be your definition of fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's different than doing it for your business for no reason, right? And it's different than your customers probably actually want. Just, as an example that is maybe more relatable than software. So another thing to look at is a long-term goal that may be wanted for the project. And this is not necessarily the opposite of like a minimum viable product, right? The long-term goal could actually be pretty wildly different than either the project goal or the minimum viable product. And it could be as simple as, using software as an example, it could be as simple as making the thing in a programming language that is relatively forward-looking, meaning something that is modern and is likely to stay in reasonable use for many years to come. Because at the rate technology changes, that's not really a guarantee. A car example may be if you decide that you're going to design a new car today because you think it'll be fun to design and build a car, If you think that would be fun, you are even more eccentric than me. But hey, you may think that's fun. So if that's what you want to do, would you identify it as a long-term goal for it to be easy to modify, add to, or update in the future? That may impact your decisions today, even though they aren't related necessarily to the current project. If you're trying to make a car business around a new car you're designing, you may go so far as to say, well, I don't really like regular internal combustion. I think it's going out the window eventually. So you may try to get ahead of the curve because designing a car can take years and years. You may try to get ahead of the curve and start with an electric vehicle just right out of the gate. And it may not be part of your initial project goal that makes you decide to do that. But if you look at the long-term validity of a project, it may affect a decision today. And it's not to say that you can't, for example, if you're designing a car for a new business that you're starting, you don't necessarily have to go for an electric car today. And this is something I'm going to talk about in a future video. But maybe you think about how you would release an electric model of a car that you're designing or stuff like that, right? There's nothing to say that you have to change short-term things for the long-term, but it's at least something to think about. Because if it affects current decisions, then it affects them. If it doesn't, then oh well. And if it's all for fun, maybe you just don't give a crap. You don't want to think about next year or 10 years from now. You just want to work on some stuff today, and that's also fine, right? It's just something that if you're legitimately trying to sit down and plan something, it's an idea to think about. So I think that's it for analyzing your purpose, and I will see you guys in the next one.